In today's show, we continue our season preview series, talking all things Young Hansen. What is the Blazers rookie going to bring to the team in year one? Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You listen to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's program, we're continuing our season preview series. We're going to run down every player on the roster, give you a brief but thorough look at what they did before they got to this part of their careers and what they're going to do this season with the Trail Blazers. If you've missed any of our prior player capsules that are waiting in your feed, if you're a YouTube viewer, there's a playlist. If you are an audio listener, they're all labeled season preview. Just search for them. Today's show, we're getting to number 4. We're going big. We're staying young. Young Hansen. We're talking about the Blazers' intriguing young rookie, a 20-year-old taken with the 16th pick in the draft. Let's do what we do. Here's how these season previews work. We're going to look back to look forward. What did Hansen do last season prior to joining the Portland Trail Blazers? Then in the second segment, we'll talk best and worst case scenarios, and we'll close the show with our thoughts on the Royal We thoughts on role and expectations for this upcoming year. So let's do it. Who is Young Hansen and how did he get here? The Blazers took Hansen with the 16th pick in the 2025 NBA draft, a relative stunner. Some called one of the most surprising picks of the decade, but Hansen knew he was getting picked, and his folks back in Qingdao knew he was getting picked too. They had hosted a watch party on the first round of the draft because they knew he was likely to go. It's just how high he went was somewhat of a stunner. But the Blazers have been scouting Hansen for some time. He was a young standout in China. He had started playing with Qingdao when he was in 2021, when he was at the ripe old age of 16. But he crushed it in the junior leagues in China, the U17 Chinese league. And then in the summer of 2022, he plays in the FIBA U18 championship, and he helped China win third place. He was named to the all-tournament team of that competition, and that's when he starts to actually really gain some steam. It's like, oh, this is one of the best young players in China, right? This dude is going to be, it's been a while since Chinese Chinese player has made it to the NBA, but it's like this is one of the best young players in China. Maybe where his graph went from there was unclear, but clearly at that moment he was one of the best young players on the continent, one of the young best players in the country. Asia's a pretty big continent. I don't want to speak to all of it. So that's the summer of 2022. In the fall, he moves up to the senior team. He's 17 years old, and the Qingdao Eagles, move him up to the senior team. So in 2022, he's on the senior team at 17, but doesn't play. The following summer is 2023. He plays in the FIBA U19 World Cup in Hungary, and this is where the Blazers first get eyes on him. They say oh, this dude's really good. He averaged a double-double to go along with over 4 assists in that tournament. He was named all-tournament team. He played against a young Alex Sarr, who was projected to be a top pick, or at one time the top pick in the draft. Ended up falling out all the way to 2. But he was playing against NBA quality prospects, and he played well in that tournament. And that's when he caught the Blazers' eye, and they really started scouting him heavily. That fall, he joins the senior team in Qingdao at 18. And that year, as a rookie in the CBA, that's the Chinese Basketball Association, he averages 14.7 points, 11 rebounds, 10.9 boards, 3.8 assists, and wins Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year in the CBA. Pretty good little debut, right? Comes back in his sophomore campaign in the CBA, across 53 games during the 24-25 season. Young Hansen scores 16.2 points per game, grabs 10.0 rebounds, dishes out 2.8 assists, blocks 2.7 shots, improves his three-point shooting, improves his field goal percentage, improves free throw percentage. Just a more efficient year, albeit with a drop in assists per game. And he gets invited to the NBA draft combine. If he had come out the year before in 2022, he probably would have been a second round pick. And there was some, and maybe he never makes it, right? Because he gets drafted, 53rd or whatever. And a team just stashes him in China forever. And it's a weird, if you get too early with draft rights, you can kind of just get caught, right? A team's just never going to bring you over because it just never makes sense. But instead he doesn't enter the draft in 2022, although he was draft eligible. He enters in after the 24-25 season. He enters into the 2025 draft. He gets invited to the draft combine. He is clearly looked at as at the very least, a second round pick. The consensus mocks online, one of the services that puts all the consensus drafts together, had him at about 34. I think most of the sort of bigger services had him in the 40s, right? He was a mid-second round pick. That's pretty deep in the game, right? That's pretty deep in the game. That is not typically guys who are considered NBA players. Those are dart throws, right? But the Blazers, they don't view him as such. And on draft night, they trade back from 11 to 16. In doing so, they get a future unprotected first-round pick. Pretty good little bit of business there, and they get their guy, someone they've been scouting since the summer of 2023, and someone who they're pretty interested in, right? They think he's going to be really special. But Hansen had come to the NBA draft combine where he played in 5-on-5 and got a little bit of notoriety with his passing and processing ability and just sheer size at 7'1". He worked out for the Blazers over the summer, along with I believe 10 or 12 other NBA teams that he worked out with. He did the full circuit. He was going to be, most projected him as a mid-second round pick. There's been a bunch of reporting that the Nets, who owned 5 first-round picks, were going to select Hansen somewhere in the 20s, and that the Blazers really, really wanted their guy. They were going to get they went into the draft, it seems like, with the express plan to get young Hansen on the roster, and that's what they did. I think you can quibble with the process maybe there, but clearly this was the dude they wanted. They get him at 16. He's in the building, resplendent in a white suit, walks down from the bleacher, from the seats, not bleachers, but from the seats. He's sitting in the stands at Barclays, daps up his agent, Rich Paul, walks across the stage, puts on a Grizzlies hat because the trade isn't final because the NBA is weird, and he's a Portland Trailblazer that night. The trade becomes official the next day, but he's a Trailblazer. Goes to Summer League with Portland, appears in 4 games. He averaged 10.8 points, 5 boards, 3.8 assists, and 2.3 blocks. He had 3.8 turnovers, 3.8 assists, a 1-to-1 ratio, shot 45% from the floor in Summer League, including 33% from 3. That's 4 of 12 across 4 games, and 87.5% from the free throw line. Numbers in Summer League, it's the box score stuff. It's not nothing, but it's not deeply meaningful, but certainly not predictive by any means. But I think watching him, you saw the skill set. He's a really good passer. He's a really willing passer. He's a giant person. He blocked over 2 shots a game just by being big and in the way. I think he showed some warts a little bit on defense at Summer League, and I think he showed some struggles on how he's going to score on his own. In fact, I'll talk about that a little bit more later in the show, but there was one of the things I liked about him in Vegas is that in game 1, he basically operated entirely from the top of the key. Then he kind of showed a little bit more. Okay, now I'm going to work in the post. Now I'm going to work on as a guy who does some stuff off the dribble. And by the end of the week in Vegas, okay, yeah, throw it to me in the post and let me have a chance to see if I can score in here. He was adding a little bit more to his game each time. I think some of that is comfort. Some of that is probably a coaching staff kind of saying, yeah, let's try some new stuff with you as well. But I think he had a new layer each outing that we saw him. I don't think he set Summer League on fire. He wasn't, one of the 4 best players in Vegas without a doubt, but he was intriguing enough that he looked like he belonged. And I think that's what you can really say about him. If you had no idea who he was and no idea that he was supposed to go 35th in the draft and actually went 16th, whatever, you wouldn't have watched him and been he doesn't belong. You would have said oh yeah, 16's pretty good. Who is that, right? I think he would have just passed just the no, what I call the no name test. If there was no name on the back of his jersey and you were just watching the guys play, you'd be yeah, he doesn't look out of place. I think the best thing I can say about him in Vegas is he didn't have any stinkers. He didn't have any of these sort of glaring red flag moments where you're oh no. He had some stuff I think he's gonna struggle with in the pros for sure, and particularly his rookie season, but he just looks like a very normal first-round pick figuring it out, and he was better than some other first-round picks who would look further away. This was a productive and intriguing Summer League, and I think that's the most important part of us, intriguing. He's got some stuff The passing willingness, I think the innate passing feel is something that you can't teach. You can get better at passing. You can get better at feeling, and getting a sense of how teams cover you and stuff. But that ability to make reads and react and process quickly, those are innate skills that I do not think players typically develop. You either have it or you don't. And he's got that. The other parts of his game getting rounded out will be really intriguing, but sort of like a baseline of being a true 7-footer, 7'1", with a willingness and ability to pass the ball, a very intriguing youngster. But he's young indeed. He turned 20 on draft night. What I want to talk about in the second segment is what are the best and worst case scenarios for a 20-year-old center entering his rookie season where he indeed may get early opportunity on a team that expects to be competitive night in and night out. We'll talk about all of that in the second segment. Join me there, won't ya? First, though, I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Do you ever wish that saving, building your wealth was a little bit simpler? Well, with Monarch Money, it can be simple. Most folks don't even know what all their financial accounts are worth. So 401ks, properties, investments, if you are in the dark or you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's where Monarch Money comes in. They make it easy to grow your wealth and easy to see everything that you are working with all in one place. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. So if you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting. So you can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, and get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use a code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONNBA. Today's show is also brought to you by the good folks over at DUER. They're making my favorite jeans. I've been rocking their Relax Fit taper, and as it gets a little bit cooler here in Portland, we didn't get into the 70s until the late afternoon today. A cool morning here in beautiful North Portland. You know what I'm rocking? I'm rocking my DUER jeans. They got 5 times the stretch of traditional denim, and they feel stretchy without looking stretchy. They look like nice jeans, so I can wear them to preschool drop-off, and then I can go about my day with errands, meeting clients, and just like living my life comfortable, fashionable, and totally functional. The jeans are made with Cool Max that regulates your body temperature and wicks moisture. They keep you cool and comfortable as temperatures change, so they're great for any season. DUER combines classic jeanswear style with the kind of comfort and performance you get from athletic wear. It's the best of both worlds. It's time to upgrade to the world's most comfortable pants. Get your own DUER jeans today. I know you'll love those too. And DUER opening a new store right here in Portland on Northwest 23rd. It's opening later in September at 820 Northwest 23rd Avenue. This is the new era of denim in Portland. And you can go to their store when it opens and mention my promo code LOCKEDONPortland. You'll get 15% off your first order, or you can check them out online at shopduer.com/LockedOnPortland for 15% off. That's shopduer.com/LockedOnPortland. All right. So what we do in these season previews is talk best and worst case scenarios. Some of you have probably never listened to me do this. I've been doing it for many, many seasons. And these are best case scenarios within reason. So we're trying to say what is a reasonable and realistic best case scenario for each player. They're tailored to everybody. And worst case scenarios without injury. We're talking about what happens in between the lines and not anybody's body breaking down. The idea of these is that everybody lands in the middle, right? These are the poles. We set the best, we set the worst, and the idea is that we land in the middle. In a perfect world, I would keep the best and worst case scenarios pretty narrow. I'd nail it perfectly, but sometimes I get it wrong. I would say generally I set the polls pretty well for these folks, but and I know that because when we get to the spring in our season review series, I revisit these best and worst case scenario predictions to hold myself accountable for what I thought back in September. So let's get into it. What's the best case scenario for young Hansen? It's that he's a rookie who demands minutes. Not one that is given minutes because of intrigue or investments or any other factors. The best case scenario is that when Hansen does get on the court, he is immediately good enough that he commands a real and consistent role on the team. The best case scenario is that the passing is real and he can be a fulcrum, or if not a fulcrum, a regular initiator out of the high post, and that he finds his footwork in the low post and builds his strength such that his shooting touch inside pops. And the best case scenario is not only does he have that shooting touch, but the outside shooting that he showed brief flashes of in Vegas translates. And he shoots it with enough consistency to be able to use some of the intriguing off the dribble game when big guys close out on him. The best case scenario is that when Young Hansen, on a team that probably is a little light on center depth, gets a chance early in the season, it all clicks. The passing, the shooting, the inside finishing, the size to be an impact defensive player, or at least a non-liability early in his career as a 20-year-old defensive player. And because all of it clicks, and because he demands minutes, the best case scenario is with the production early, he plays enough to win the basic math game that leads to end-of-season awards. Rookie awards are typically given on a minutes per game basis. And by that, I mean if you play enough minutes, you're going to score enough points and grab enough rebounds and block enough shots to look like you're the best rookie. It is a math game. Can you get on the court enough to play? Rookies typically don't get knocked for efficiency. Every so often, a rookie gets rewarded for his team winning, which I just don't understand really. But, sometimes it's more important than others. But like for the most part, the way you win awards as in your rookie season, in your first campaign in the NBA, is just winning the math game. Can you get on the court and stay on the court to play enough minutes? And the best case scenario is that Hansen does that early in his career, and that when we get to the end of the season, he is an all-rookie selection. And the best case scenario is that when he's an all-rookie selection, as a not yet 21-year-old, that Joe Cronin and Mike Schmitz become folk heroes in Qingdao as the locals toast Tsingtaos to the Blazers brass all summer of 2026. That's right. Qingdao, famous port city, German occupation. They got a beer, Shout out to Tsingtao. Cheers them all year long. But the best case scenario is that this reach, quote unquote, that the Blazers made in the draft doesn't look like a reach. It looks like a gem, somebody they found and got right, not someone they reached for, not someone they deeply targeted and chased down with at all costs. The best case scenario is that Hansen proves them right, and Hansen is good, or at least good enough to play regularly and be a regular part of the rotation on a team that wants to win. What's the worst case scenario for Young Hansen? Is that he's not ready. Like so many 20-year-olds before him, the NBA game is too fast. The athletes are too strong. They move too quickly, and their transition to NBA level basketball is sobering. The worst case scenario is that the flashes of skill from Hansen never translate to production, and that on a team that has expressly declared that it is, quote, winning time, Hansen is a spectator for most of the season. The worst case scenario is that when he does get cameos and he does get opportunities based on injuries and just necessity of getting on the court, he looks really far away. That the passing never pops. He's just too slow and not strong enough to be useful on defense. And he ends up ceding his minutes even when healthy and available to Duop Reith, who, if nothing else, is definitely an adult. He is certainly 10 years older than Hansen. So the worst case scenario, we get to the end of the season, and instead of the Blazers fan base raving about a scouting gem uncovered in Hungary during the summer of 2023, the I told you so army is out in full force. To be clear, with all rookies, and particularly with someone like Hansen, who I do think looks like he's a ways away, and I'll talk about that to close the show, the worst case scenario is not a big deal. It is not a big deal. If Young Hansen is not ready in year one to be a positive contributor on a team that fancies itself a postseason contender in the West, that's not a big deal. If he can't play, if he's just as negative when he plays, and it's he's 20 years old. He'll just have to get there. If the best case scenario hits, obviously it's going to be really fun. But he is someone that if the pendulum swings, worst case scenario, just like he just is not good enough to get on the court. And when he does get on the court, it's extremely obvious that he's not good enough to play many more minutes than he does. Like, it is simply not a big deal because young players are going to take time, and the transition he is making from CBA to NBA is like, it's a big leap. And if he is just not quite there physically, I don't think year one is a reason to worry, particularly because if he's not productive, but you still see the skill flashes, you're building on skill. That's the goal for young players. Okay, let's talk role and expectations to close the show. I want to talk about what I expect, how is Hansen going to play, and when is he going to play for this team during his rookie season. Join me in that third segment, and we will talk about just that. First, though, let me tell you about FanDuel. It's football season. It's here. You made it. It's week 2. I'm recording this on Thursday. Week 2 has officially begun. You're listening to Friday, September 12th's program, and the NFL season is upon you, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So if you want to live bet a Steelers game, you can. Or if you just want to bet early on the Steelers to win their Week 2 showdown and improve to 2-0, you can do that as well. If you want to build an elaborate same game parlay and say Calvin Austin and Jaylen Warren are both going to score touchdowns, you can do that on the FanDuel app. It's all there for you. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com, the place to place your first $5 bet. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond, and you are still listening to Locked On Blazers. What we do to close these season previews is talk about realistic role and expectations. So, what role do I expect Hansen to play in year 1? I think he's going to get a chance early. I think it's undeniable he's going to get a chance early. Just look at the roster. Donovan Clingan's your starting center. If Rob Williams is healthy, and when he is healthy, he's going to play. He's going to be backup center. He's not going to be a big minute guy. He's going to sit out back-to-backs. If you just look at the way the Blazers handled Rob's minutes last year, he pretty much never pushed above 24 minutes a night. He sat out back-to-backs. He even had some scheduled off days where he would just be scratched. It would be like, tonight is a Donovan Clingan night. You're not going to play, Rob. Like they just were really conservative with his minutes. They had a very specific plan. And then he had knee surgery. Then he hurt his knee and had knee surgery. If you just look at last year, it's not going to change. Like they have to respect his body, right? He's a human person with they have to respect his body. They're going to treat him very similarly, if not more conservatively. So if you assume Rob is on that plan for all 82 games, that means that there are at least 17 nights where he's just like, we'll have scheduled time off because of back-to-backs and because of just like, hey, this is our third game in 4 nights, or this is our, 5th game in 7 days. You need a day. Like, you need a day, and they'll be conservative with Rob's minutes for sure. So on those nights, I think Hansen's definitely going to play, right? He's definitely going to, I think he's your third center. I think when Chauncey Billups said at his introductory press conference that he thought Hansen was good enough to play right now, he said that on draft night, not the introductory press conference, but he would play right now. I tend to believe Chauncey, like, he'll sometimes overstate stuff, but like, he doesn't straight up BS you. Like, he'll kind of maybe go a little higher than he means, but like, I don't regard that as like a full-on lie. And I think Billups does have a track record of letting young players get opportunities early in their career. Shaedon Sharpe was pretty awful his rookie season, and Billups played him a bunch and just like said, like, you're talented enough to get out on the court, and we're going to live with the warts. They started Scoot Henderson right away his rookie year, and basically after he really struggled and then got hurt, started reducing his minutes. Certainly there's times last year when they benched Shaedon Sharpe, and I've complained a million times about how little they played, how little sort of like big minute run they gave Scoot in year 2, but like just like flat opportunity, chances early in their careers. Billups has a very strong track record of playing rookies if they're capable. Donovan Clingan got minutes early on. He had a monster game like in November against Minnesota, like early on when there was a chance for him. So Hansen's going to play. He's going to play because, one, just the way the roster works too, they're going to be conservative with him, with Rob ahead of him. And then Rob's probably going to miss some time with like, bumps and bruises along the way. He's just, it's a reality of him as a basketball player that he has not been, he's not been able to finish seasons, not been a big minute guy or a big games guy. And like he's played very, very limited minutes during his time in Portland. It's just a reality that he's likely to miss time. I think Hansen is very clearly the third center ahead of Duop Reith, and Reith is more of a situational guy. And I think I think early on he's going to play real minutes for this team. Early on, first 10 games, we're going to see real minutes. Night one, potentially. Like he could be the backup center on night one. Honestly, he could, depending on Rob's availability and how they want to handle that. Like he's going to play a bunch early on. They want him to play. They believe in him. They're like, there is space for him to get out in the court and do his thing. I do think he's going to struggle. I do. And I actually think for me, it's about his strengths being strong. You've probably, if you're a longtime listener, heard me use a phrase similar to that a bunch, than his like defensive shortcomings being disqualifying. I think that's the big concern with him. Lateral quickness and whether he can guard in space even a little bit, or whether if you pull him out from out of the paint. He played in China where they don't have defensive 3 seconds, so you can camp in the paint. Like if obviously they have that in other FIBA competitions as well. Like in the NBA with defensive 3 seconds and illegal and the illegal defense. You kind of have to guard someone if you're going to hang out in the paint. You're going to get the 3 in the key. Like if pulling him away from the rim just makes him, he's just not only not fast enough to guard if the ball's in front of him, but not fast enough to like rotate back, like be a help side defender with under the NBA rules and with NBA athletes and all of those things. He might struggle on defense. I think that's real, but I am less worried about that being like disqualifying, where it's like, well, he just can't play him, right? Because I think you can fake it a little bit. I think he's so big. It's often easy to get away with, like during the regular season, just like, hey, if you play to the scheme and they don't really hunt you, you can get out of it. And obviously teams hunt, they like mismatch hunt. This like, it's very real. But I think there's a world in which the Blazers play some more zone when Hansen's on the court, and also like just play with their good defensive perimeter guys, with Drew Holiday and with Toumani Camara and with Denny out there, and maybe even Jeremy Grant as well, and play like their best perimeter defenders and say like, hey, you just clean up behind this like good defensive group and we'll see what happens. Like, I'm not that worried about the defense being disqualifying. I do think it might be a struggle, but I don't think, for me, the thing I'm actually worried about with him is what can he do on offense? It seems like his skills, the thing he does best is offensively. If you watch the highlights, and I enjoy the Young Hansen highlights. The footwork is really special, right? Like his footwork, his feet in the posts are fun. And it's like, oh, he's got moves to like, spin one way, show the ball, spin back, he likes to get middle, right? And shoot those little jump hooks. But like the way he uses his feet to get himself to the middle of the paint and get to his right hand is like, he has a bunch of moves there, drop steps and then a fake drop step and spin the other way, but go back. Like he's got some stuff. He's got some moves off the dribble, right? Like, but I worry that he doesn't have the strength to like really score consistently in the post against NBA quality athletes. And because he can't do that, it's hard to set up a bunch of other stuff. It's hard to be a fun passer out of the post if they're not really worried about you as a scorer. So I am more worried about that on offense. Listener Scott pointed this out maybe a year ago, was that like when we were talking about whether Donovan Clingan was going to shoot threes, and listener Scott pointed out, I thought this was really smart, and I've been thinking about it as a bunch with Hansen as well, that like Donovan Clingan's best shot he might be able to generate on offense, this was heading into his rookie year, was 3-pointers, because he just didn't have the moves or the skills to score inside. So while he's maybe far away from being a 3-point shooter, the best like any given field goal attempt he could get on a possession might actually just be a wide open 3, because at least he can get that shot up. And I worry a little about that with Hansen. can he, does he turn the ball over too much, trying to do too much because they don't worry about him as a shooter? Does his passing not open up as much? Like, I worry about his strengths because his strengths seem to be on the offensive end. And to me, his rookie season, that is much more concerning than the defense being rough, because defense might be rough, right? That might be a real thing. But to me, that's the more concerning part. All that said, like all of that, like here's why I don't think he'll be very good as a rookie. He's 20, right? Like typically rookies are bad. That's a safe bet in the league. Boy, is he fun. He's just a fun basketball player. The passing is fun. He has an incredible personality. I believe Ben Golliver said he has the levity of a YouTube streamer, right? Like he just is a young dude who seems to have like a real flair, a real sort of like sense of what he means in the public eye and what he means to China and what his like transition to the NBA means. Like he just seems to have a certain charisma that not all young players have. And like the charisma mixed with the passing is pretty fun for a 7'1" dude. Like, this is kind of maybe the Mike Richmond flavor a little bit more than you signed up for, but I can, for me as a person, I can say like, yeah, this dude might stink his rookie year, but boy, am I going to enjoy it. And I don't know, stink. That's probably too harsh, but I do think there is a world in which Hansen struggles a lot and is like kind of rough, and I still enjoy every minute he's on the court, right? And I like want him to play more and enjoy every minute because I think he's just like an intriguing type of player. He wears like almost exclusively leaning t-shirts that say "Young Handsome" when you see him out in places. Like he's a dude who he just has a real, it's charisma, right? He has a real charisma to him that not every young player has. Like there's something just like totally entrancing about his personality and just he really is. He's fun, right? I'm excited to watch him. I think among the reasons that this Blazers season is significantly more intriguing and more interesting and more fun than any of the last three is because of Hansen. Like there's a lot of different parts that are fun, but like when you start to think like even the third string center, I'm really jazzed about. Like that is, he is such a huge part of why this season seems so much more intriguing. If he pops, it changes it changes so much of sort of the direction. Now, I don't think he's going to be like a 10-10 guy. Like I think like the best case scenario for him is something like 8 points, 7 boards, 3 assists or something like 8 and 4 maybe is like a really high end outcome for him. 4 assists off the bench is a lot. So like, yeah, I think I can hold two thoughts in my brain at the same time. One, I'm excited for him, intrigued by him, and really fascinated by his growth. And two, I do think this could be a rocky transition to the league based on what we saw in Summer League a little bit. But I can't wait to see it. That is going to do it for today's show. So what we do 5 days a week, wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Come back for next week. We'll do 5 more of these things. Tell your friends about the program. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.